Guys, what's the most obvious hint you got from a girl that turned out not to be a hint? Her wink was a disorder. OMG. I have this. I mean, it hasn't been diagnosed or anything, but every now and then I'll randomly wink and it's got me in some rather precarious situations. The most memorable was at a Model UN competition. New guy from another school was super nervous and had a hard time speaking. So I gave him some tips during a break. When we get back in, I sit down across from him and it happens. I wink. He smiles. I'm fucked. Next break comes and he follows me into the hallway and asks me if I want to get dinner. I'm a dude and very straight. That was an awkward conversation. This happened in my last year of high school. I had a crush on a girl in band. I played clarinet. She played flute. We were both in the first row, so we sat directly across from each other, and naturally looked at each other during rehearsals. At our school, all the graduating band kids were allowed to write a short blurb which would be included in the program for our spring concert. Anyways, concert day rolls around, and I'm hanging around backstage, flipping through the program waiting for the parents to start arriving. I eventually get to her blurb. Her favorite band memory was looking across at a certain clarinet player. Turns out it wasn't me. Ouch. I asked a girl to go ice skating with me for New Year's Eve. She excitedly said, "I'd love to." Single quote. A few days out I asked her when I should pick her up. She seemed confused and said that "I'd love to" doesn't mean yes. I'm not upset about it. I don't need to deal with that kind of mental gymnastics. Edit. For clarity, yes. I said something like, "Hey, would you go ice skating with me for New Year's Eve?" Quote. What the fuck else does "I'd love to" mean? I'd love to. Quote. Just not with you. Wanna have sex? I'd love to. Quote. I met a woman at a bar. Both early 20s. We went back to her place after leaving the bar. We talk and smoke weed. She excuses herself to the bathroom, comes back in tiny tank top and panties, sits down next to me and asks me if I'd like to lay down with her. So we crammed ourselves onto her couch and I held her against me and she kept rubbing her butt into my crotch, so I finally made a move. She said, "Oh, I don't like you like that. I just get lonely and want to feel an erection against my ass sometimes." So I got up and left. Went home and got drunk with my buddies. Did you tell her you don't like her like that either? You just get lonely and want to feel your erection in an ass sometimes? Edit. Holy fuck. A Sprog reply? Better than gold. Edit 2. Some stranger gave me gold for an anal sex joke. I love this place. And thank you. Genius. 'Twas then that she raised up the ante a notch, gyrating and grating her rump in my crotch. Attempting flirtatious, curvaceous techniques, essentially pushing my dick in her cheeks. She wiggled and giggled and fondled me. Coy. She wriggled and rubbed and the world was a joy. "I don't really like you," she spoke with a sigh. "I just like the feeling," I said. Single quote. So do I. Went to a girl's place to watch the Olympics. It was our second date. She told me I could stay and sleep over because we had been drinking. Her brother and his girlfriend were there, so I didn't think anything of it. It started to get late and I asked her for some blankets and pillows to sleep on the couch. She told me that I could just sleep in her bed with her. I still did not think anything of it. Her brother gave some pajamas to wear and I changed and got into bed while the girl was brushing her teeth. Next thing you know, she walks into bedroom totally naked and gets into bed. It caught me off guard. I was suddenly filled with happiness. I move in to kiss her. We hadn't before, and she said, "I am not ready for that." I was so damn confused. I just said, "Okay," then rolled over and questioned reality until I fell asleep. More than once I've run into girls who were DTF but thought kissing was some sacred thing. Boggled my mind each time as I thought no kissing meant no sex. God forbid you catch the worst STD of them all. Feelings. Edit. Well, woke up to gold. Thanks stranger. Feelings are no joke. Dude, one of my bros kissed a girl. Caught feelings. And now he's married. I miss him every day. Maybe she sleeps naked, and wanted to give you a sneak peek. Maybe she's Canadian. Best to keep your wits about you and continue to look for signs. This girl I liked freshman year of high school came up to me before a concert. Mentioned a part of my shirt had become untucked and then proceeded to tuck it into herself. Putting her entire hand down my pants so her hand was on my dick. Afterwards, she acted like nothing weird happened and ignored my now more obvious advances and got a boyfriend. Not long after, the girl I liked asks me, "Hey, do you want to go to prom with me?" I said, "Yes, of course." And she said, "Great. We're all going in a group. And you can be Mildred's date." Quote, "That's fucking hilarious. Was Mildred waiting for you once WW2 finished?" I feel bad for people with names that didn't quite make the generational leap. How many Ethels do you know under the age of 50? Does Ethel the omnipresent hamster count? Does Ethel the omnipresent hamster count what? Does the Pope shit in the woods? Moved to a new town for a job and didn't really know anyone. I got a haircut and the hairdresser seemed to be flirting with me, and ended up giving me her number. The next day she asks if I want to come over to her place. I'm like, hell yes. I get there and there's like 3 other people with her. And it turns out she was hosting a Mormon Bible study or something and was basically trying to convert me to Mormonism. Edit. Because so many people are asking. No, this was not in Utah or Idaho. It was in Eastern Washington State. Edit 2. To everyone saying Eastern Washington is basically Idaho. You're right, but it was actually more like Central Washington. I just thought most non-Washingtonians would have a hard enough time envisioning anything outside of Seattle, let alone a middle section of the state. So anyway, it's still a little Idaho-ish, but not quite as bad. You've been struck by a smooth biblical. So how's Mormonism? If you dye your hair, get a tattoo, you'll go to hell. Don't do it. She was sending me nude pics. When I made a move she acted all surprised and said it wasn't like that. Coulda fucking fooled me. 10th grade super flirty female friend Janice comes over after school. "Can I see your room?" Quote, "She legit was just curious about my personal quarters." Ended up playing PS2 and having a tickle fight, which only happened cause my dumbass tried to put the moves on her and had to play it off once I saw that wasn't why she came over. Smooth. Like a cup of sand. I have actually done that. I called a girl over to my place cause my parents weren't there, and when she came over we just watched a movie and played some PS2. She left disappointed and I realized what happened 4 years later when she pointed it out to me. She was giving me a handjob, but when I tried to kiss her she said we were moving too fast. What? Gotta leave room for Jesus. First base is hands. Second is oral sex. Third is full sex. Home runs are kissy sessions plus holding hands. Obviously. Girl told me, "I have a crush on you." I then asked her on a date and she said, no. This happened to me once and I asked a female friend about it, and she told me that they sometimes prefer the fantasy instead of the real thing. Like they have this vision of you that they don't want to be ruined by the real you. Then they shouldn't say anything about it. Friend from high school and I were hanging out. After talking for a bit, she leaned over and kissed me. And for the next hour we made out with her stroking my dick through my pants. Nothing further happened though. Next time I saw her, a couple days later, she was talking about her new boyfriend. I thought she was playfully referring to me, and then acted completely surprised when I went in for a kiss, stating, "I just told you about my boyfriend." I was really confused. Haven't seen her since. P.S. No alcohol involved whatsoever. I experienced something very similar. This girl and I had been flirting for a couple weeks, and we finally end up alone in my truck just before soccer practice. We start making out and she grabs my hand and shoves it down her pants. So I click her mouse until her file downloads. She then hops out of the truck and into another car with a friend, and I head off to play soccer. The very next morning, before I have even seen the girl, her friend comes up and tells me Erin is now in a relationship with some other dude. Like, what the fuck? Erin clicked her mouse until her file downloads. This is hilarious. V is not accessible. The file or directory is corrupted and unfuckable. We were hanging out in a nature preserve at night. She kissed me and took her top off. Turns out, she wasn't into me but just really likes attention. Had a coworker keep flirting with me. She gave me her Facebook and phone number. She constantly kept seeking me out just to talk about nothing. She'd always have those fuck me eyes and tone of voice. Eventually she messages me to pick her up at a parking lot, and we go around town sharing ice cream and loitering in random stores until 3 a.m. Then she randomly asks to come over at midnight. She lived an hour away, so she came over at midnight to a guy's house she only knew from working with him for 2 weeks. Going out, we sit in my room and we put a movie on. Then she refuses to cuddle. She talks about how boys are always trying to make a move on her. And she then takes out her diary from high school and reads it to me. It was probably the most WTF is going on experience I've had with a girl ever. Up until that point I was 100% sure if I made a move she was going to have her way with me. This one girl I know sent me multiple nudes without me asking, but then said she was talking to someone. And another sent me nudes except I asked for these ones. And she even flashed me while we were both in a pool. But she didn't want to be anything more than friends. Why are there so many people in this thread getting random nudes? I wish that would happen to me. She told me she liked me and would love to be in a relationship with me. She even sent me nudes. So I asked her out and she rejected me. I'm reminded of the time I was laying on the grass with my love interest. We were having such a fantastic time together and I told her how I've always wanted to kiss her. She responds, "Why don't you ever try?" I then seize the moment and go in for a smooch and she shrinks away. Profoundly hurt, I tell her that's why. Edit * if anyone cares to dig through my history. 1 to 2 years ago, you can read about the trials I had with this girl. The TL doctor is that she was relatively newly diagnosed with severe bipolar and had split with her husband. There were ample red flags, but she was like a siren nymph who I actually could not deny. Sort of like if I'm Superman and she's smokable kryptonite crack. At least you have the satisfaction of having said the exact right thing in the moment. Well, what the fuck did she expect? Logic 100%. She said she wanted a guy like me. She didn't want a guy who is me. Edit. This is getting bigger, so I'm going to dedicate this comment to all of those who have been in this spot. We like people like you. And we mean it. Are you like you though? Dude, this thread is the reason why I'm gonna continue missing obvious hints. No, you should go for it. You have nothing to lose. But if you find crazy like the people in this thread did, run, laughing hysterically at every joke I told. Turns out she was just a lesbian who apparently genuinely thought I was fucking hilarious. That's kinda best case scenario for this thread. In high school, these two popular girls thought they'd have a laugh by going up to the nerdy group of boys and asking them one by one when they were alone if they'd be interested in having a date with them. Then when the boys said yes, they'd pull a date, the fruit, out of their pocket and laugh. I guess they just assumed because we were nerds and virgins that we would desperately say yes and they'd have got a good laugh. But they got a pretty big awakening when of the 5 boys they ended up doing this to, all 5 rejected. The monsieur we then had some girls come over and say that we were mean for making her cry. But I reckon it's a hell of a lot more cruel to plan on embarrassing a bunch of teenage boys the way she was going to than us taking what they said seriously and respectfully declining. Nicey. My favorite one out of all of these. She gave me head, twice. then proceeded to say that we were just friends. You couldn't figure that out by the first time, or? That's a great friend. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Right. Where can I find these kind of friends? I knew a woman like this. To her, sex was for lover. BJs were for best friends. All others just got to see her naked or maybe a handjob. Most of her girlfriends were the same way. I was very sad when I had to move away for work. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.